everybody. I just wanted to take a few moments today to warn you or remind you about the two biggest time wasters in law school. The first is rereading. I hear this a lot. Students say, well, I didn't really understand the case, particularly first-year students or even second-year students who are facing a challenging course that they have not seen before. They say, well, I kept rereading it in an effort to understand it, but I still don't understand it. Typically, if the beginning of a word starts with re, it's not the best use of your time in law school. So rereading is generally a time waster. And that is because you may not get it if you stay after it and stay after it and stay after it. The better use of your time to save time and make sure you still understand the material would be to seek clarification. So look to a reliable study aid. I also have a video on reliable study aids. There are lots of good horn books and outlines out there, commercial outlines for you to use that will assist in your understanding and maybe illuminate the main point for you as opposed to rereading a case or material over and over again. You could also go to office hours. I know many students are reluctant to do this. I'm not quite sure why. Professors are happy that you come to their office hours. That is why they hold them. So they're happy to answer your questions. So go to your doctrinal professor's office hours to seek clarification, or ask your study group or study partner. So all of these approaches, while common sense, are things that people tend to put off because they want to sort of sort through the material themselves. That's fine. Just make sure that you're not going too far down the rabbit hole, because chances are if you don't get it, the first time, if you did a careful read, you might be better off using these approaches instead of just, belaboring the material. Another word that tends to be a time waster is reviewing. Folks say, well, I reviewed my notes, I reviewed my outline, and therefore I studied. It's actually not studying. It's pretty passive to review something. When I think of reviewing, I think of looking it over, kind of reading it over. It's very passive, and the result is it breeds familiarity, not actual knowledge. So let's say you're reading all about what an offer is in contracts, but then you go to do a practice problem and you're like, I should know this. I just reread this. I just reviewed it, but I'm still not clear on what is needed for this type of offer. That's because reviewing is generally not a good use of your time. It's not truly studying. So better uses of your time are to integrate and build knowledge. So what does that mean? So law students tend to create outlines, but it's not the outline itself. It's integrating and building knowledge in the outline that helps you. So that means that you don't want to just keep incrementally adding to it over time without ever going back. So because the idea is to put these puzzle pieces together, the new material is a puzzle piece, and you want to see how it fits in with everything else that came before it. So when you are adding new outline material, which is active and not passive, right, you want to incorporate it and engage with the material that came before it. So you're able to see the big picture. I just got an email from a 2L student that said, my big shortcoming last year was that I kept adding to my outline and I never looked back. So when I looked back to quote unquote study right before finals, I was in trouble because all of it was confusing to me. So you need to actively engage with all of it throughout the semester. Your outline is to facilitate understanding. It's not simply to condense your class notes. And by integrating and building your knowledge in this way, it will facilitate your understanding. So don't wait until game time like that 2L who was reflecting on her experience last year. Actually study. This is the biggest one that I really want to emphasize to you guys. This is the best use of your time. So, we might have different definitions of what studying means. To me, studying is not reviewing, rereading. It is doing something active. Class prep is active. You're oftentimes briefing, you're doing some strategies like underlining, highlighting, maybe book briefing. That's not studying to me. That's preparing for class. So I want you to think of class prep and studying as two different things, and you have to do both in order to be successful. So like I said, with the outlining, adding it, you have to engage with the material all semester long. So what is studying? Studying is testing yourself. Studying is meeting with a group and talking through a concept, or teaching it to yourself, or to somebody using a whiteboard. It's doing flashcards. It's doing practice questions. Those active approaches are actually studying. And I have a colleague who says, class prep is when you have the least amount of information. All you have is the assignment. You don't really know where it's going. You don't know what your professor is going to emphasize. You don't know if you're going to hit the issue exactly right. So you're operating with the least amount of information when you do class prep. In contrast, after class, you probably have a better understanding of a concept. You probably have a better understanding of what your professor wants you to know. And so you have then the most information because you've read for class, you sat through class, you now have notes, and you've probably integrated some portion of those into an outline. So that's when you have the most. So that's when you want to spend your time engaging in studying the material. And I think with the pressures of law school, we tend to focus on class prep. Your grade does not come from class prep. Your grade comes from your knowledge of the information. And in order to gain that knowledge and test your knowledge, applying, laws to a new set of facts, you have to actually study. So schedule it multiple times a week and stick with it. So come hell or high water, you are going to stick with that study time. So if your time is Sunday afternoons, I don't care if you have a legal writing project or, what's going on, that is your study time. And the more you delay that, the harder it's going to be for you at the end of the semester. You want to avoid the end semester scramble. So anyway, those are my thoughts today on good uses of your time. Remember, if it starts with it's probably not a good use of your time. And if there's one takeaway, actively engage with the material, practice questions, quizzing, teaching, something that causes you to do something other than passively look at the information. And again, don't spend all your time on class prep. Finally, you can do it. And as always, I'll be rooting for you. Thanks.